I am Christine. I never really expected my life to turn out like this. Sometimes I wonder how I ended up in this situation, how I learned to trust and give people a chance. Like Elmer. Elmer was once a beggar, and he's the kind of person you wouldn't believe would become such a big part of my life. One day, he was just an ordinary janitor, a beggar with nothing to his name. But there was something about him I couldn't quite explain. A quiet confidence and kindness that you don't easily find in others. I first met him at the office. I don't even know how it happened, but he had this strange effect on me. It felt like there was a deeper reason why our paths crossed. At first I wondered how Elmer had the courage to offer help to me, especially since he had nothing and seemed to live a life full of struggles. Yet, despite all that, he was always there for me, determined, never giving up. One day, when he came by my house, he brought plenty of food, a gesture that showed he cared for me. At the time, I couldn't understand what kind of person he was, but with every little action of his, I felt there was something deeper within him that I wasn't ready to accept yet. I admit I was stubborn at times, afraid to trust, afraid to forgive. But Elmer had a certain charm. I accepted the flowers, chocolates, and everything he sent, but deep down, I still couldn't admit how I truly felt about him. One day, as we were eating together, I could no longer hold back my feelings. I looked at Elmer, and he seemed different, like a new person. He looked stronger, more put together, and above all, happier. I asked him, "What's with all these roses and chocolates?" But I didn't know what kind of surprise was waiting for me. "Christine, there's something I want to confess to you," Elmer said, and those words felt like they opened my eyes anew. I knew he had feelings for me, but back then, I couldn't yet accept his love. My fear of making a mistake pushed me to pretend that I didn't love him. One day, while deep in thought, I couldn't hold back my feelings any longer. I wanted to speak, to tell Elmer how much I loved him. But there was still something I couldn't accept: the changes in our lives. The Elmer I first knew, the beggar who worked as a janitor, was no longer the same. Yet my heart told me that this wasn't about social status, but about how he had transformed and how he valued the teachings of God. I admitted, "Elmer, I love you so much. Even though all of this feels like a huge change, I can't lie to myself any longer. My heart continues to accept your love, and I know that with every step of our lives, you and I are destined by God." As time went on, I began to see more of Elmer's transformation. He was no longer the Elmer I first knew, a beggar, but a successful man with a heart full of compassion. Every day there were flowers, chocolates, and delicious food that he would send me. His love wasn't just shown through material things, but in the little acts of care and respect he showed. One day, while we were talking, he told me, "I can't imagine living without you, Christine. I am grateful for every moment I got to know you. And I know that no matter what happens, you and I will be together forever." I looked into his eyes and saw love and sincerity. I couldn't speak, so I poured out all my feelings in a tender kiss. One day, he came to our house carrying flowers and chocolates, and my heart raced. We were in the living room with my mother when he confessed. In front of her, he turned to me and said, "Christine, I can't wait any longer. I love you, and I don't know how else to show you, but I want us to start anew. Don't think about my past circumstances. All I want is to be with you." I was shocked. I knew in my heart that I felt something different for Elmer, but I didn't expect him to be the one to confess. I looked at my mother and saw her eyes full of understanding. She nodded, and with that simple gesture, she showed her acceptance of Elmer. I turned to Elmer, and I couldn't hold back my tears anymore. I held him, and we started to embrace. Elmer shouted with joy, "Yes," and hugged me tightly. I couldn't think of anything else but the happiness I felt at that moment. But before I could say anything, I apologized to my mother and to Elmer. As a Christian, I knew we had moral standards to uphold, and I learned from the Bible the righteous path. I didn't want to disrupt our traditions and values. But when I accepted his love, it became clearer to me that this was the right path for both of us. We went to the church, and before God, we celebrated our marriage, a sacred union of two different lives brought together by love and faith. On our wedding day, we felt true joy and love from everyone who attended. Our guests came from different walks of life. Elmer's employees, his business partners, politicians, and even our church mates. Despite all the success and material things we had, on that day, we were all equal in the eyes of God. All of us, from the simplest person to the richest, celebrated our union. For Elmer and me, life status no longer mattered. Our love was proof that true love is not measured by material things. I learned that our marriage was more than just a ceremony. It became a symbol of hope and faith for everyone that no matter where you started, if you let God guide you, the right moment will come for everyone. I learned from Elmer that God's blessings are not just for ourselves, but also for others. Elmer used his hard-earned wealth and the businesses he built to help and bless those in need. He never hesitated to extend assistance to the sick, the unemployed, and the poor who needed support. I was part of these projects. Together, Elmer and I started foundations and programs to help those in need. As our business grew, we felt that the blessings given to us were more than just material success. We nurtured our love, faith, and our family. We were blessed with 3 children, twin boys and a little girl. The joy and love they brought into our lives were far greater than anything we could ever buy or achieve. We were happy that as we grew our business, we remained focused on our mission to bring hope and help to others. With God's blessings, Elmer and I worked to inspire those around us. We learned to cooperate, to care, and to continue doing things that would improve the lives of others.